Hey YouTube, and thank you for watching. I figured while I was doing the painting I should do some I got some pretty good tips and tricks that if you're a professional painter you probably already know, but a lot of people don't know. First of all, when you're painting with a paintbrush, the best way to hold a paintbrush, and I learned this from a professional painter. I did do professional painting for a while. I don't know if I'd call myself a professional, but I worked for a professional for quite a while. But first of all, wear gloves. Don't learn from me. I tend to not wear gloves near as much as I should. And you'll notice this paintbrush is really bad. You should not see this whole entire area filled with paint. By the end of the day, you're probably going to anyway. And this is a very cheap paintbrush. Don't use this unless you're doing primer or something cheap. These are throwaway brushes, so I don't have to clean up this oil-based primer, which is a pain in the butt. Which, regarding that, well, let's do this first. Holding a paintbrush. Now, you don't hold a paintbrush like this, or like this, or any, you know, like this even. That's not the proper way to hold it like this. You don't hold it like that, or like that. I mean, there's times where that's just going to be the more comfortable way to do it, but don't get used to that. When you hold it to paintbrush, you're supposed to hold it from this area here, kind of like a pencil in your hand. In fact, if you look at some real nicer brushes, they actually kind of have this part sticking up a little bit further and give you a nice place to do this on some of the better paintbrushes. But you want to hold it kind of like a pencil. See if you can see that. The next thing, I grabbed these. Now I do have the thing that this goes into, but I don't know exactly where it is. And something, I don't like cleaning up stuff. So I just leave these all together, dump my paint in there, do my thing, and then I can throw that out when I'm done. The next thing, don't fill whatever you're painting with all the way up. You only need maybe an inch or two at the bottom. Dip your paintbrush in the first, right where there's usually a, here, we'll look at this paintbrush here. On the tip, there is usually a off-colored area. It's lighter on the top, darker on the bottom. You really only want to dip your paint in that far, the lighter part. You don't want to go up into this darker part. Like I said, by the end of the day, you know, you're going to make a mess regardless, but that just helps. You dip it in there, and then you'll notice the side of my paint canister here is very white. So when you dip it, then you want to go sideways, sideways, and then do your painting. And you'll be surprised how long you can paint with just a couple inches of paint in one of these. It holds quite a bit down in there. So regardless, dip, side, side, and then go about your painting. Now you're going to have to be careful if you see drips and things like that. You're going to have to, you know, do that kind of thing and get it situated. That's about it for the paintbrush. When you're doing oil-based, you want to use a respirator here, an actual one for vapors. Don't get, like, these do not work for vapor. Any kind of vapor. They do not work for spray painting. They do not work for any of that. That is what these are made for. And they say right on here, OSHA approved for vapor P100, blah, blah, blah. Another thing, headlamp is nice when you're working like me right now. I have all my lights are pretty much taped up or not working, so a light is nice. Couple rags, a baggie, so when you're taking a break or want to stop, you throw your brush in there. That'll keep it wet. I use this because I usually put the canister, I don't put it on tight every single time when I'm painting. I just throw this on here, put this around it. That'll keep it, you know, dry or wet for a long period of time. Gloves, obviously. That's something else. On my paint cans, you'll have this multi-tool. A lot of painters have these. They're really, really handy for just about everything. You'll maybe or maybe not notice, I have to find it right there. There's a hole. If you take that little thing, and don't go to the outside here. You got to be on the inside. Let's see here. Inside this area. And knock a hole here. I got one here, one here, one here, and one here. And what that does is when you pour your paint and you get a little bit of the paint goes up inside here, it allows it to drain back down into the canister. And then usually I take the tip of my brush like this and kind of run it around and get it to go down in those holes. They don't have to be huge, but you want to open them up enough to where it drips down in there. Okay, so we got the holes in there. Then when you put this on, and yet again, getting paint over me. When you put this on, and you knock this in, the door opens so I have air, fresh air, but there's lots of noises out there. Anyway, moving forward here. When you put that on, it allows it to drain down in there. And then, to stop you from making a mess, one of my other bigger tips, throw a rag over the top of it. Make sure I have everything out there. And you don't have to kill it. Go around the edge like that. And that stops it from spurting out all over the place. And go around it one more time. You don't have to bash these things in here. They seal better. In fact, when you start bending them up and bashing them, they quit sealing. So don't bash the tops of your lids or your paint will go dry. Another thing, as you can see, you can read the labels and all the stuff on here still. When you pour your paint, always pour it forward towards the label. I know it seems counterintuitive because you want to see what it is. You already know what's in here. You want to know how to use it. So that's with automotive painting, house painting, any kind of painting. Don't pour over your instructions, because if you go back to this and you need to read how long you need to let it dry, or if you need to mix it with some sort of chemical or to do something, or what you can and can't paint over it, you want to be able to read that. So always pour your paint out over the label area there, not the instruction area. Oh, any more tips? Definitely get yourself one of these. Wear gloves, unlike me, which I just took that off and I still need to do some cleaning. I'm going to throw that paintbrush and that top canister thing away. I don't like, that's why I bought these cheapo. It was like 3 for $3 or $4, if even that. And when I'm done, in fact, I put this in this baggie overnight and then started using it again, which is part of why it's so filled up with paint and goopery and messy. Normally my paintbrushes, you know, you only see about there, unless I get paint on my fingers, which I always do at some point, and then it starts getting on there. But I'm going to throw this one in here too. Paint sticks. If you're using the quart canisters, break them in half and do your stirring that way. And then like I bought 2 of these, only used 1 stick. I got a couple more sticks left over for when I open up a can of paint for later, or if I open this up again and needed to stir it, I got an extra stick or 2. Well, thanks for watching Junkworks DIY Garage, where I'm proud to be a jack of all and master of none. You all have a good one.